Hey, hey, what's really going on? Bitcoin, cryptocurrency today. Going to be taking a look at XLM, Stellar Lumen. Going to be taking a look at some of these key technical aspects of price action moving forward. Going to be assessing some of these key pivotal areas of support and resistance I believe are going to be interacting with here as we do seem to be coming out of this very aggressive sell-off and rejection from resistance above kind of like 65 cents. We came all the way back down to 28 cents. A very aggressive pullback, blasting through many key significant kind of support levels. And so now, do we have enough momentum to kind of recover and interact with these kind of higher highs again, or will we find our way kind of back downward and get trapped in these kind of lower levels of accumulation that we've kind of been in for weeks in the past? Let me know what you're doing with your XLM, your Bitcoin. Do you trade? Do you hold? Or do you just let the price action unfold? Do you think we're going to recover kind of quite nicely here? Are you holding through all of this nonsense and sideways, or did you sell kind of along the way? Or did you buy one of these dips? What is your kind of like strategy moving forward? Are you more of a kind of long-term hodler that just holds through this kind of sideways and ridiculousness and knows that we're going to see the multi-dollar levels there? Or are you more of a technical trader that takes profit wherever they can at their kind of key take profit levels? So let me know what you're doing in the comments down below. Jumping right into it to kind of recap what's been going on. We have this up and then sideways, up and sideways, and so price action tends to kind of, after kind of pumping significantly, tends to kind of come down sideways and consolidate kind of like in a downward manner toward kind of a key support level before finding its way back upward. And so we have several examples of price action taking like tens of days perhaps to kind of find its way back downward and then find support along a kind of key level there before we take off again. And so now, after coming out of what appears to be like 40 days of like accumulation after that kind of swing high back in the kind of 13th of February, getting rejected off of 55 cents, we found our way all the way back down to 38 cents and then accumulated for like over a month along that level before rallying kind of off of it all the way up to 68 cents, which is a higher high relative to that previous rejection in February, off of 59 rather. And so upon that kind of higher high, we saw a significant sell-off. Bitcoin kind of had a bit of an episode, and so the market kind of corrected, had a 47% kind of pullback over the course of like 9 days, just over a week. We printed this kind of like higher low though, which was rather bullish in my opinion, and so we recovered since that kind of quite nicely. But upon printing kind of a higher high past previous rejection after on 68 cents, we've kind of printed these higher highs all the way up to kind of 80 cents. And so now, after failing to kind of find support above a kind of key zone above kind of like 55 cents to 60 cents there, we've fallen dramatically and aggressively all the way back down to a very kind of like low levels that we haven't seen since kind of like the end of January of this year. And so prices do seem to be recovering nicely. The candle that wicked all the way down to 28 cents from opening around 64 cents closed at 44 cents, and we've recovered quite nicely after bouncing between kind of like 39 and 53. And so ultimately, if price action were to start closing above my kind of 48-cent support level, then I believe we can start getting more short-term bullish. I do see resistance just under kind of like 55 cents there, and kind of 60 cents is my kind of key zone of resistance that I believe price action could have a hard time kind of making its way up through before we do eventually kind of see these higher highs again, see the 80 cents, perhaps the dollar level in the kind of near future. And so, I mean, although if we get rejected, say we print a lower high off of like 52 cents or whatever, like 51 cents, I do believe if we fail to hold kind of 48, my next kind of key level of support is going to be that 38 cent level that we found ourselves trading sideways along for kind of like almost a month. And so we could very well find our way kind of back toward it in the kind of coming days, although prices are recovering very nicely and this bounce is kind of still playing out. So price action is still kind of in a very volatile kind of pivotal state at the moment. When we consider EngineeringRobo along with these Fibonacci levels, these Fibonacci lines, we have these kind of key areas of support and resistance I believe we're going to be interacting with here. We have these 0.618 coming in at 50 cents. I do believe that's going to be some kind of like short-term local resistance just above my kind of like 48-cent support line. So price action is kind of very tight between these two levels. We have the 0.5 coming in at like 41 cents. And so that's just above my 38 cents kind of support line. And so hopefully we can find kind of local support above my 38 cent support, 0.5 at 41 cents would be a much nicer kind of like midterm short-term kind of like bearish target that we could consolidate kind of downward towards, and it would be a much more bullish area of support that we can bounce off of, and would likely bring us back to these kind of higher highs again. And so upon breaking the 0.618 resistance, we have that 0.786 line coming in at 63 cents, which is above my 55 to 60 cent zone. And so that seems to be kind of another kind of potential kind of pivot point we could interact with, kind of get rejected off of, or kind of fly through to come down and retest as support before moving forward. And so there's kind of lots going on at the moment. We have the kind of sell 4, sell 2, sell 3, all the kind of sell signals coming back into play finally. EngineeringRobo didn't want to get bullish on XLM until this kind of like very aggressive candle close that, everything kind of like due to the bed a good like 55% in a day. So that was enough for EngineeringRobo to print these kind of bearish suggestions, although we are recovering very nicely. And so, while this recovery is still playing out, the overall trend is looking still bullish in my opinion. We have the FOMO zone coming up near at the top there. We had a rejection off of it in kind of the middle of April of 2021. Came back down, rallied up to it again. We've interacted with it kind of like a handful of times in the kind of last kind of few weeks, like at the beginning of kind of May here. And so I do believe our next kind of interaction with the FOMO zone is kind of inevitable upon kind of finding support at kind of one of these kind of key levels here. When we consider XLM against the price of Bitcoin, we can see some more kind of like bullish consolidation in my opinion. We have rejection off of resistance found around 15 and 63 Satoshi, and we've pulled all the way back down to the bottom of my slapping zone, kicking, spitting, and shoving area that I've kind of printed between 1207 and 1288. And so at the moment we've interacted with it, and I suspect price action will kind of find its way kind of downward through it, although that'd be very bullish if we were to hold it in this level, start closing above perhaps 1288 Satoshi, and we can find our way back to that 1561 resistance again. Although I feel like it's likely that we will kind of make our way kind of downward against the kind of price of Bitcoin here, although we are looking quite bullish. And so price action I do suspect that price action could maintain sideways against the kind of volatility that is kind of Bitcoin at the moment. And so when we consider EngineeringRobo along with these Fibba Illuminati lines, we have kind of not the same scary sell suggestions that we do have on the USDT chart. We have the buy for and moon price action above the 200 daily moving average. We have some more bullish suggestions kind of in play, suggesting that we could very much see some positive price action against the price of Bitcoin. And so analyzing these kind of key Fibonacci lines, we have the 0.618 coming in at 1136 Satoshi, and then that 0.786 coming in at 1346 Satoshi. I believe that is going to be a key range that we could very well find price action kind of bouncing toward, bouncing kind of between as we find ourselves hopefully finding support in this zone. But a failure to hold that, I believe kind of local midterm bearish target would be 988 Satoshi, as we could very well get rejected and fall through that 0.618. But the overall trend is looking quite bullish in my opinion, and we could very well see some positive price action moving forward, perhaps some upward or some sideways. And so we can consider the price of Bitcoin itself against USDT. We can see the ridiculousness that is the past few days here. And so we have a very aggressive wick off of like 30K, I believe like 28K almost on like some exchanges, and like things got very aggressive, things got very scary for a moment. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt is present. EngineeringRobo is very bearish since kind of the beginning, kind of like 12th of May there. I've been suggesting a rejection off of 57K since back when we were bouncing off of kind of like 49K. And so this is kind of all playing out still to my kind of key ranges here. I mean, we've blasted through all of my kind of like short-term sort of bearish targets, and so right now we could see a very particularly volatile sideways Bitcoin at the moment, as price action is seeming to find support here. I suspect from this kind of very aggressive recovery, if we don't start interacting with kind of like 46K again and start closing above that 0.618 line around 41K, I believe price action is going to remain kind of rather sideways and perhaps stay bearish for a period of time, and perhaps find its way back down to that kind of like 0.5 level there around 34K. And so while Bitcoin is still very bullish and the demand for Bitcoin is still high and smart money will always be accumulating, the FUD in the market, if you will, is influencing price action at the moment, and so prices will need to find support at one of these kind of key levels. I do have a support line around 31K, 32K. A 0.5 lines around 34K, a more bullish kind of like short-term bearish target. That's 0.618 is kind of where we're at right now. That's going to be some significant resistance moving forward. I mean, if we kind of fly through it, the next kind of point of rejection is going to be 46K in my opinion. Thank you for hearing my analysis. Thank you for tuning in. Try EngineeringRobo free with a link in the description. Let me know what you're doing with your Bitcoin, your XLM. Do you trade? Do you hold? What's your kind of strat moving forward if you have one? Are you accumulating in these lows? Are you selling at the highs, or are you buying? As soon as it makes an all-time high, and then are you selling as soon as it makes an all-time low? Let me know what you're doing with your strat in the comments down below. Thank you for tuning in, and tune in for the next one.